Hey guys, in this video, I want to go through one of the strategies you can use with the statistics in AFL to find really good high quality player prop bets. Because one thing that happens in the AFL with disposal markets is a lot of the time the lines for players and what their odds are to get 15 plus, 20 plus, 25 plus doesn't change all that much from week to week. But there's obviously a big difference in the opponents teams are facing from week to week. So one thing that I do that works really, really well is looking at the statistics in disposals and possessions for both sides, and especially in the opponents. So in the bet finders, when we scroll down, you'll see this section here, opposition possessions, and we've got opposition contested, uncontested, disposals, kicks, handballs. In the red and green columns is where, well, that is what the average is for that team or their opponent in that category. And in the side column where, for example, it says 16 here, that's where they're ranked in the league. Obviously, first being the best in the league and 18th being worst in the league. So we'll notice here Geelong, Gold Coast versus Geelong. Geelong are aside in opponent disposals ranked 15th in the league. So straight away, what I'm doing is I'm looking for teams where they're ranked low. So there's two ways to do this. The first way is using the bet finders. The second way is in the power rankings. So if we come down here to opponent possessions and opponent disposals, you can straight away see Richmond give up the most disposals to the opposition, North, St Kilda, Geelong, Melbourne. Then also what I pay close attention to is opposition uncontested possessions. And this helps even more because uncontested possessions are where players can really stack them up, where there's not as much difference between contested possessions because there's not as many of those during the course of a game. However, how you want to play this and how you want to do it is the first thing I'm doing is I'm looking for matchups where we've got a team that concede a lot of disposals to the opposition. And up here, I'm looking for teams where they gain a high number of disposals, but that doesn't matter as much. More so, I'm just looking to take advantage of the teams that give up a high number of disposals and then go to the players who should be able to take advantage of that. So straight away looking through, we've got Geelong here. No real other side. This matchup here between Collingwood and Adelaide. Collingwood do give up a high number of disposals to the opposition. Then as we keep going through, neither of these sides give up all that much. This game here, St Kilda ranked 16th in opponent disposals. So especially when I've got Fremantle who are ranked second in uncontested possessions, that's going to be a real good betting opportunity in that game. Brisbane Lions ranked 9th in disposals, number 2 in contestants, 7th in uncontested possessions, going up against Richmond, who give up the most disposals and the most uncontested possession. That's another really good game to take advantage of. And if you watched the video on Friday, you would have seen we found some really good bets in both of those games. And then finally, the other 3 games of the round, we have North Melbourne ranked 17th here, going up against Essendon, who are ranked 3rd in uncontested possessions and 2nd in disposals. So that's another good opportunity. And I guess you kind of get the idea of what we're doing here. So that is now the games that we want to look at. And then we go over to the player disposal trends. So, and look through, okay, which players are performing really well to take advantage of that. And we not only want to look at the players where, you know, they're in good form and averaging the high numbers, but also go through and look at the mid-pack players, because especially against teams where they are going to be able to generate a high number of disposals, these other players can look to increase that. So for example, here, you got Kane Farrell for Port Adelaide. You'll notice a couple of his games, his numbers jump up dramatically from 17 to 27 and 16 to 26. Those are the kind of players where potentially they may be able to. And obviously, you're going to do a little bit more research, but it puts you straight onto the right track. Now, the other really good way of using this as well is not just looking at players to go over a certain number of disposals, but also looking at players to go under a certain number of disposals. So we go to the opposite end of the table and which teams give up the least number of disposals. So Port, Gold Coast, Carlton, Brisbane, Fremantle, your top 5 in that category. Then in uncontested possessions, it's basically the same. The only team that's in there is Adelaide, ranked 5th. A lot of the time, the betting companies slightly err on the side of knowing that people are going to back the overs. That's why a lot of the markets are, you know, 15 plus, 20 plus, 25 plus, not under, but there are the player lines where you can back the unders. So the same principles apply. We're looking for matchups against these sides and potentially looking at players to go under their disposal. So come back over to the player trends and which players can we see where, they're not tracking all that well. The numbers are kind of dropped off a little bit recently. They're not performing as well. We can go through and analyze this. Maybe they're coming off, a few games of injuries and their, total line has been set at what their average is, but you don't think they're going to be able to achieve that. And this is the other way you can really take advantage of them erring on the side of the games going over. So it's a very, very simple strategy. There is a more advanced way, but I just wanted to break this one down for you first. And then coming up next week, I'm going to go through the more advanced strategy of identifying the specific players that will really be able to take advantage of this in their games coming up that weekend. So then you're able to win more bets on your player props.